Hey guys, it's Nate with Sauce Ain't the Boss here again, and today is day number 48 of quitting drinking alcohol. Today I wanted to talk about improving your relationships after you quit drinking alcohol. Now, for me, one of the most important things in my life has always been my immediate family, my wife and kids especially, and my wife or my kids both, neither one liked how much I was drinking and how sometimes annoying I would get in the evenings. You know, when you're drinking a lot, your inhibitions are lower. Sometimes you react to things inappropriately, or you say things that your normal filter that exists for a reason when you're not drinking is there goes away, and you say things sometimes that you regret or shouldn't say, or that are just not who you really are, what you would normally say in a situation. Because I think when you're drinking and get to the point where you're half drunk or whatever, you're not who you really truly are. You're this clouded version of yourself that is not the best part of you, to be honest. At least it was that way for me. And so yeah, your relationships with your family and maybe your friends, your coworkers, a lot of the different relationships you have in your life are going to drastically improve when you quit drinking alcohol. Now, it's been about a month and a half for me now since I quit drinking, and my relationship with my wife and kids has drastically improved. I always had, as my oldest son kind of got into his teenage years, we kind of started clashing a little bit. I think that that's kind of normal. I remember when I was in my mid-teens, I started kind of clashing with my old man, and I noticed with him, my youngest, he's 15 and my oldest is 17 now, and my youngest just has a different temperament. My oldest actually reminds me a lot of myself when I was younger, kind of just that type A aggressive personality, and a little bit more headstrong, which, in a lot of ways that's a good trait, in some ways not so great, speaking from my own experience. But him and I kind of started clashing, like I said, a little bit. But a lot of the problems, and I think some of the things that he felt against me were he was just annoyed at some of my reactions and responses to him when I was drinking, and he would even tell me, hey Dad, you're acting stupid because you're, a bottle in or whatever of wine. And he knew it and noticed it and that kind of thing. And so I think as he was in those teenage years and being rebellious, he kind of started looking at me as, I'm not being the dad or the role model that I should be. And so he kind of started distancing himself away from me because of that. And I don't blame him one bit. I personally think that when you're drinking as much as I was, you're not being a role model. I don't think that's a good example. And I think most of you guys and gals that have children probably don't want them growing up and drinking or struggling with alcohol the way that maybe you have. At least that's how I felt about it, And so here I'm saying, don't, get involved in alcohol and drugs and these things. And I'm doing, with the alcohol, the very same thing I'm preaching. So not to do. So anyway, so since I've quit drinking now, even though it's been a short, month and a half, my relationship with him, there were times when, to be honest, we weren't even talking much. I would try to talk to him and he would put up his wall and that kind of thing. Again, mostly my fault. I don't blame him for that. But now we just talk about everything and do things together now, and it's almost like back when he was younger and we had no tiffs and issues and that kind of thing, and so that's hugely important to me. I mean, that's one of those things that you only get to raise your kids once, and I kept thinking when I was drinking all the time that how nice it would be if I could quit, just to at least get to the point where when my kids left the house, at least I gave them a couple years or a few years of me not being a drinker, because I thought back, I've been drinking ever since they were born. And I thought, gosh, I mean, and it wasn't like I mean, I worked from home a lot and that kind of thing, so it wasn't like they always experienced me drinking and drunk and stuff like that. It wasn't that way, but just pretty much in the evenings I would start, and kind of as the evening went on, get gradually worse. But I was home a lot, when they were home and stuff and not drinking, but it wasn't an ideal situation for my kids to have a parent that was drinking as much as I was. And I wanted to, like I say, give them at least a couple of years. Now that I can't go back and change the past, but at least I can give them the dad that they deserve. And I've been able to do that for the last month and a half since I quit drinking. And I look forward to, the next couple of years or few years, however long, until they decide to move out, And my one oldest son, he was talking about moving out right away, and a lot of it was, him and I not getting along the greatest. And I've noticed in the last month, he hasn't been saying he's moving out. Now he's talking about staying at home and saving money and doing some different things and that kind of thing. So it's all good stuff, guys, and that was a relationship I really needed to repair, was with my oldest son. And I see that starting to happen. It's going to take more than a month and a half, to get to where it's perfect or where it needs to be. But all I can do is work on that now and move forward and, make amends for those things I did in the past that were not the best. And so, yeah, I really encourage you guys to kind of, once you quit drinking, notice and you'll just naturally, I think, put more focus and attention on those relationships that have been suffering in your life, and people that have kind of rejected you or kept a distance or put a wall up. You might find starting to, hey, he's not being that annoying SOB anymore. I feel comfortable enough, or I can trust him now because he's not going to say some dumbass thing that, hurts me or, that kind of thing. So, one of those things that is definitely one of the biggest pluses for me and keeps me thinking every day about making sure that I stay on this journey for the long haul, because that's the other thing. I want to be there for my kids when they get married, when they have kids. I want to see my grandkids and stuff like that. I mean, those are the most important things in life. And, with health issues and stuff like that you get when you're drinking and that kind of thing, and then just not being there, them rejecting you because, hey, I don't want dad around because he's a big drinker, and that's not a part of my life, and I really don't want him around my family. I mean, I would hate for my kids, to ever feel that way about me. And so some real, this video is some hard truths about relationships and how sometimes, it might be your significant other, it might be your wife, your husband, your kids, your parents, the list goes on and on with some of these relationships that maybe you've damaged and maybe you can repair. Maybe some of them you can't. I don't know where you're at in your situations with your relationships. But for me, and I think for a lot of us out there, if you have a true change and you want to do the right thing and you give up the alcohol and you start putting, love and emphasis on these relationships that you broke, and a lot of it's your fault for the drinking and dumb crap you were doing, I think that's going to go a long way, and you'll be really thankful and happy if you can repair those things. So that's the topic for today, guys. Improve your relationships when you quit drinking alcohol. That's probably one of the greatest gifts and rewards, I think, in this whole process that can happen for you and for others. I mean, think about, the goodwill and the happiness that you're going to create for the people you love in your life that maybe have distanced themselves from you because of your drinking. So good stuff. So remember, guys, sauce ain't the boss. You are. You guys have a great night.